Annette's leg and she's got her left in front. So that's the one we're going with. So left in front, right leg is slightly behind you. Make sure you're comfy. And then your left hand can rest on the floor beside you. And you can have some weight into that hand, just don't put all of your weight down into that hand. Okay. And your other hand can just be resting comfortably for now. So we're gonna start with a torso turn. And again, remember that you always are gonna stay in your comfort zone. So if this starts hurting for any reason and you need to switch to a chair, definitely do that. So now I'm gonna have you bring your right hand up and have it just sort of resting gently on your left shoulder. And we're just gonna take a nice breath here first. So inhale and exhale. Oh, and I'm just gonna mute you guys just in case we get any background noise. If you have any questions, make sure you wave at me. And now you're gonna start to gently turn your torso towards the left. And as you begin to start to turn towards the left, you're turning your torso, your head, your eyes. And as you start to turn, you're gonna notice that your right hip will be lifting off the floor. That's good, you want it to lift. And only turning as far as you can comfortably. And when you've reached as far as you can comfortably in that turn, you're gonna hold for a moment and just take notice where your eyes are and what you see. So find something to kind of mark about how far you were able to turn to that left side. And now super slowly begin to bring everything back to the front, slowly rotating back to the front with your head, your eyes, your torso, slowly lowering your right hip back down to the floor. And when you get back to the front, pause for just a moment and then repeat. Turning the torso to the left, torso, head, and eyes. Your right hip is lifting off of the floor as you slowly turn to the left. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, hold for a moment and super slowly begin to release back to the front. Slowly bringing your head, your eyes, and your torso back to the front, letting your hips sink back to the floor and rest. And then we're going to repeat that again. Turning to the left, head, eyes, and torso, right hip lifting off of the floor. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably to the left, you're going to hold there for a moment. And now I want you to leave your torso turned to that direction, but you're going to bring your face back to the front. So your torso is staying to the left as your head and your face begin to slowly come back towards the front, as slow and smooth as you can, remembering that the key in somatics is in the slow, controlled release of the contraction. So when your head is back to the front, hold for a moment. And now what we're going to do is we're going to switch both at the same time. So now your head is going to slowly and with control begin to rotate to the left as your torso slowly with control begins to come to the front. So torso is slowly turning towards the front. And your head is slowly turning to the back. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, hold for a moment, and then we're going to switch. So now your head is going to slowly begin to turn back towards the front as your torso slowly begins to rotate to the left. Most people, the first few times they do this one, find it quite difficult. Don't be discouraged. Keep trying. And we're going to switch one more time. So slowly begin to turn the torso to the left, or sorry, back to the front. Some of you moved, so I'm not sure where we're at now. And head slowly turning to the back as your torso slowly turns to the front. And then keeping your torso to the front, slowly bring your head now back towards the front. As slow and smooth as you can. And when your head is back to the front, rest for a moment, letting both hands fall down beside you. And rest. And we're going to start with that same movement again. So you're going to have your left hand on the floor. Right hand comes up to the left shoulder. And we're going to turn the torso, head, and eyes all together again. So turning head, torso, and eyes, turning to the left. Letting your right hip rise off the floor as you slowly rotate to the back. When you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, hold there for just a moment. And now very slowly, you're going to keep your torso and your head turned to the left. Now I want you to try to bring your eyes to the front. So your head will stay there, just your eyes are very slowly going to move to the right. And when you've glanced with your eyes to the right as far as you can comfortably, now you're going to slowly bring your eyes to the left. And your head is going to rotate to the front. So your head and your face are now turning to the right very slowly as your eyes are glancing to the left. And when you've gone as far as you can comfortably, pause for a moment. And we're going to switch directions. So your eyes are going to very slowly start to drift to the right as your head and your face slowly drift to the left. Remind yourself that this is very difficult. Our head and our eyes almost always move together at the same time. So trying to take them in two different directions is very, very difficult. So keep moving super slowly, and we're going to switch those one more time. So now your face is moving gently to the left as your eyes are slowly drifting to the right. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, then slowly rotate your torso and your face back to the front, back to center. Then slowly let your arm come back down to its resting position beside you. And rest. Now putting your left hand back on the floor, you're going to bring your right hand up over your head. And very gently, you're going to tilt your head to the right. Holding for just a moment, super slowly letting your head come back to center. And then super slowly letting your head come to the left shoulder, tilting down to the left. Hold for a moment. And slowly coming back to center. And when you come back to center, bringing your hand back down beside you, nice and slow. And rest. And then we're going to switch to the other side. So you're going to switch your legs now so that your right leg is in front of you and your left leg will be behind you. Again, remember, if you're not comfortable, this can be done sitting in a chair or with a cushion underneath of you. And once you've switched to the right leg in front, you'll place your right hand on the floor beside you. And you can gently lean into that hand. Just remember not to press all of your weight there. And then bringing your left hand up to your right shoulder. And we're going to start with the full torso turn on this one as well. So turning your head, your torso, and your face to the right, slow and controlled. Your left hip will begin to lift off the floor as you slowly rotate to the right. Go as far as you can go comfortably. Pause for a moment. Notice where your eyes are. Find something to mark where you've turned to. Hold for just a moment and super slowly begin to rotate back to the front as slow and smooth as you can. And once you're back to the front, remind yourself to rest. And then we're going to do that one again, rotating everything to the right, torso, head, and eyes. Left hip is lifting off the floor as you turn to the right as far as you can go comfortably. Pause, hold for a moment, super slowly turning back to the front, really paying attention to any spots where you feel any jerkiness, any bumpiness in your movement. Try to make this movement as smooth and slow and controlled as you can. And once you've come back to the front, remind yourself to rest. And we're going to repeat that one again. Turning to the right, your head, your eyes, your torso as your left hip gently lifts off the floor, rotating everything to the right as far as you can go comfortably. When you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, pause for a moment. And now keeping your torso turned to the right, you're going to turn your face and your eyes back to the front. So your head, your face, and your eyes slowly begin to rotate back to the front as slow and smooth as you can. When your head and your eyes are facing the front, slowly rotate again, switching directions. So your head will slowly begin to turn to the right, your head and your eyes turning to the right as your torso now begins to turn back to the front. Torso is turning to the front, head is turning to the right. Pause for a moment. Remember, this movement can be done very small. Now you're going to switch those directions again. So your torso is very slowly going to turn to the right as your head begins to slowly come back to the front now. Torso turning to the back, head slowly turning towards the front. Once your head and your eyes are facing front, switching directions one more time. Slowly turning your head and your eyes to the right as your torso begins to come back to the front, turning to the left. Head and eyes are turning to the right. When you come to the end of that movement, hold for just a moment. And now keeping your head and your eyes to the right. Sorry, keeping just your head to the right. Slowly begin to bring your eyes to the front. So your eyes are slowly going to drift to the left now. And super, super slowly, take your eyes to the right as your head begins to turn to the left. So your head is coming back to the front now as your eyes are going to look towards the right, looking over your shoulder. And then slowly begin to switch those movements. So now your face is going to begin to turn to the right. So head begins to turn to the back as your eyes super slowly begin to turn to the left. And pause and slowly switch again. So eyes begin to slowly turn to the right as your head slowly turns to the left. Pause for a moment. Now we're going to do the face and the torso switching opposites. So now you're going to keep your torso to the front as you begin to take your head and eyes to the back again. So head and eyes slowly turning to the right. And when you've turned your head as far as you can comfortably to the right, slowly begin to reverse. So the head is slowly going to come back to the center as your torso now slowly begins to turn to the right. Torso turning to the back, head slowly turning to the front. And then pause for a moment and slowly switch. Torso slowly begins to come back to the front now as your head slowly begins to turn to the back. Letting your hips sink back to the floor. And switching one more time, slowly taking your torso to the right as your head slowly begins to turn to the front, to the left. And when you've gone as far as you can comfortably, pause for a moment, and now slowly bring your torso back to the center. Head will stay facing the front, torso will slowly begin to turn back to the center. And once you're facing the front again, now you're going to bring your right hand up over your head, or sorry, left arm. Right hand stays on the floor. Left arm comes up over your head. Gently tilting your head to the left. Make sure that you don't feel a pulling or a stretch on the right side of the neck. It should just be a very gentle tilt. Hold for a moment. Super slowly bringing your head back to center. And then tilting your head to the right. Super, super slow. And then bringing your head back to center again. And slowly bringing your left arm down. And rest. Now you're going to switch back to the left side again. So switching your legs so that your left leg is in front and the right leg is behind. Your left hand resting on the floor. Bring your right hand up to your left shoulder. And we're going to do the same full torso turn again. So slowly begin to turn to the left, turning as far as you can go comfortably. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, just take notice if your gaze has changed, where that spot that you marked when we did this to the left the first time, if you've gone further, if you've gone less, hopefully you've gone at least the same, hopefully a little more. Super slowly now bring everything back to the front. Slowly turning your torso, your head and your eyes back to the front as your right hip slowly sinks back to the floor. And once you're back to center, switching sides, putting your right hand down to the floor, switching your legs again. So right leg will come in front, left leg will go behind. Bring your left shoulder up to, or your left hand up to your right shoulder. And super slowly, torso turn. Torso, head and eyes turning to the right. Your left hip will lift as you turn. And again, taking notice of where your gaze was the first time and where it is now. And then super, super slowly bringing your torso, your head and your eyes back to the front. As slow and smooth as you can. And when you finish this one, and please don't rush, but when you finish this one, you're going to go ahead and lay flat on the floor with your knees bent and your arms laying beside you. And we're going to finish with a few arches and flattens. So I always like to start with the flatten just because most of us tend to carry a little more tension in our backs than we do in our bellies. So we're going to start with flattening our low back into the floor by bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs down towards your pubic bone, squeezing in your abdominal muscles. Hold for just a moment. And now super, super slowly begin to release the contraction in your abdominals. Super slow and smooth. Releasing in the belly. And when you've finished releasing in the belly muscles, going into the tilt. So you're going to roll your pelvis forward as your tailbone presses down into the floor. And if your arms are still laying beside you, you're going to rotate your palms facing up to the ceiling now. So you're rolling your arms outwards, palms facing up, and gently tilt your head back. Hold for just a moment. And super, super slowly begin to release the contraction in your back as you slowly let your arms rotate to palms facing down. Slowly releasing in your hips as your low back slowly drifts closer to the floor again. As slow and smooth as you can. When you come to the end of the release of that contraction, you're going to go right into flatten again. So we're not going to be resting in between these ones. We're going to make them into one fluid movement. So going into flatten, pulling your pubic bone to your ribs down to your pubic bone as you flatten your low back into the floor. Hold for just a moment and slowly begin to release in your abdominals as you slowly let your hips come back to neutral, as slow and smooth as you can. When you've finished releasing the contraction in your belly, going into arch by rolling your hips forward, pressing your tailbone down into the floor. Roll your arms open so your palms are facing up. Gently tilt your head back. This time let your jaw softly open as well. Hold for just a moment and slowly begin to release. Super slowly, rolling your arms back to palms facing down. Slowly letting go of the contraction in your neck. Slowly releasing the contraction in your back. And when you've finished releasing everything in this contraction, you're going to go back into the flatten again. Pulling your pubic bone to your ribs down to your pubic bone. And this time I want you to also bring your arms and curl them in towards your body. So your shoulders will also be coming towards each other. Shoulders come towards each other. And super slowly releasing. Slow and smooth as you can. When you've finished releasing, go ahead and rest for a moment. We're going to go into an arch and curl. So when you're ready and without rushing, you're going to bring your hands up behind your head only if it's comfortable. I like to do my fingertips just right behind my ears. Bring them to wherever is comfortable for you. And if it is not comfortable to bring your hands up there, then please don't do it. You can do it with them still laying beside you. So we're going to start with the arch this time. So we're going to inhale and arch, gently tilting your hips forward as you roll your tailbone into the floor. Gently tilting your head back and pressing your shoulders into the floor and drawing them down towards your tailbone. Let your jaw open softly. Hold for a moment. Slowly begin to release the contraction in your back. Slowly releasing in the back of your neck. As slow and smooth as you can. When you get to the very end of the release, going into flatten by bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs and your ribs down towards your pubic bone, flattening your low back into the floor. Bring your elbows together and gently lift your head and chest into a soft curled position. Hold for just a moment in the soft curl and then super, super slowly lowering your head back down to the floor as slow and smooth as you can. When your head is touching the floor, you will slowly begin to open your elbows. Slow and smooth, letting your elbows drift back down to the floor. As slow and smooth and as controlled as you can. And when your elbows are touching the floor, remind yourself to rest. And we're going to repeat that same one again. So inhale and arch, gently tilting your hips forward as you roll your tailbone down into the floor, pressing your shoulder blades into the floor and drawing them down towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back, let your jaw open softly. Hold for just a moment. Exhale, super slowly releasing the contraction in your back, releasing in the back of your neck, as slow and smooth as you can. When you come to the very end of the contraction in your tilt, then you're going to go into the flatten by bringing your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone. Bring the elbows together. Gently lift your head and chest into a soft curled position. Hold for a moment and super slowly begin to lower your head back down to the floor as slow and smooth as you can. Once your head is gently placed back on the floor, slowly begin to open your elbows. Slow and smooth, with as much control as you can. And when you finish that one, make sure to rest. And then go ahead and bring your arms down beside your body again. And we're going to finish with just a couple more for the back of the neck. So this time what you're going to do is lift your head and face off of the floor, but only an inch. So it's just a slight lift, thinking of lifting your face straight up to the ceiling. So go ahead and lift, hold for just a moment, and then super slowly lowering your head back down. As slow and smooth as you can. And once your head is back down on the floor, make sure to rest. And now I want you to, keeping your head on the floor, you're going to tilt your head back again. So your head is going back, your chin is going towards the ceiling. Hold for just a moment, and then super slowly release the contraction in the back of your neck, slowly letting your head come back to neutral, as slow and smooth as you can. And rest. And then you're going to do the lifting your face to the ceiling again. Remember, don't lift your head too high because they are pretty darn heavy. So lifting your face straight to the ceiling, hold for just a moment, and super slow with control, bringing your head back down to the floor. Try to do it even slower with even more control than you did on the last one. And when your head is resting comfortably on the floor, going into tilt, tilting your head back as your chin lifts towards the ceiling. Hold for just a moment and super, super slowly letting your head come back to neutral, as slow and smooth as you can. And then we're just going to do one quick little one for the jaw that I like to do as well. So I want you to gently bite your teeth together. And I mean gently. Please don't clench. Just gently bite your back teeth together. And then from there, super slowly release. Super slowly in the jaw. Letting it go back to a soft, rested position. And then when you're ready, without rushing, you're going to roll to your side and then slowly